Hey guys, this is Man City Fan TV. Welcome to Fantasy Football Week 3 review. So let's go ahead and look at which players have performed this week and which players you might potentially want to look at signing in your fantasy team for next week. So we're going to start with the forwards, and you can see that this week the star performer in terms of the forwards was Tammy Abraham. So Tammy Abraham, I think he got a couple of goals for Chelsea. They won 3-2 away at Norwich, and he was on the score sheet twice in the 3rd minute and then later on in the 68th minute of the game. So fantastic week for Tammy Abraham. He ended up scoring 13 points, which takes his tally to 15 points overall in the season. So he's not had a great season so far, albeit I think he has played quite well in some of the games. His finishing isn't always the greatest, so he does miss chances. He missed a big chance at Old Trafford, if you remember, in that game, and that could have been a lot different. But he managed to pick up 13 points this week. And then, of course, we've got our man there, Sergio Aguero, 13 points. He managed to bag 2 against Bournemouth. That was pretty much expected. And then we've got the West Ham player. He is Haller, and Haller managed to score 2 goals. So a great performance from Haller, and he returned 13 points as well. So those are your top 3 strikers. And then obviously that man again, Pukki, he seems to appear every week in this chart, but Pukki managed to score another goal for Norwich. Let me just get the full stats for the Norwich game. Obviously it was a 3-2 defeat, but he managed to pick up 1 goal in the 30th minute of the game. So he didn't get the 2 or the hat-trick that we're sort of used to with Pukki, but he did manage to get 1 goal there. He's on 11 points. And then as we go down the table, you can see Wesley at Aston Villa. We've got Ayew, obviously the man who terrorised Manchester United. He managed to pick up 9 points. And then as we move down, we've got Jimenez at Wolves. He managed to get on the score sheet. We've got Jamie Vardy, of course, Leicester City. And now that's a player that, you know, obviously years gone by, he has been a big performer in the Premier League. Is he good value at 8.9 million? I don't know. I'm not so sure if he is good value at that price, but he is a proven goal scorer. And then we've got this new lad here, Joe Linton for Newcastle. Obviously Newcastle got a great result away at Spurs, and Joe Linton managed to get on the score sheet. And I've been watching him the last couple of weeks. I've been watching him pretty closely, Joe Linton, and he is a very good striker. He's got good technique, he's a big lad, he's powerful, and I think he will score goals. But whether the players at Newcastle are going to be good enough to supply him with the balls that he needs is another question. So he might be a player to look at. He's available at 5.9 million, and like I say, this week he managed to return 8 points in the fantasy football. And then as we go down, some more familiar names. You've got Gray at Watford, he returned 8 points. You've got Ashley Barnes, who seems to be a pretty consistent performer already in this fantasy football. He returned 7 points this week, 25 points overall. So a really consistent performer, and Ashley Barnes is available there for 6.6 million. So some great value there in Ashley Barnes. And as we move down, we've got McBurney at Sheffield. Aubameyang at Arsenal didn't have the greatest game against Liverpool, if we're being honest. Liverpool pretty much dominated Arsenal for most of that game, albeit Arsenal had a little spell at the beginning. And then we go down the list, there's some other players there. You've got Ings, you've got King for Bournemouth, you've got Mopai, and so on. So the strikers this week, the talk of the strikers, it all belongs to Tammy Abraham at Chelsea, Sergio Aguero and Haller at West Ham. So if you had any of those guys, well done. You would have had a great week with your strikers. So let's go ahead and look at the midfielders now and see which midfielders performed this week. And of course, the player that always performs is, of course, Mo Salah. Mo Salah. So when he manages to stay on his feet and he's not rolling round and diving and winning dodgy penalties, he's obviously a very good footballer. And he returned 15 points, and overall this season 30 points. And I must admit, Mo Salah was a player that I had predetermined was going to do very well in the fantasy league, and I was going to pick him at the start. I was going to have either him or Sterling as my main player in the team. And guess what? The season started and I've got neither of those two players, and both of them have had absolutely storming starts to the Premier League season. So I'm regretting my decision already not to pick one of them, and I might have to have a bit of a reshuffle of my team. It might cost me some points, but I might have to reshuffle and maybe bring Mo Salah in. Although his cost is now 12.5 million, so it's quite a bumper outlay if I want to get Mo Salah into the team. But he had a great week. And then our man El Mago, David Silva, returned 10 points. He has now returned 14 points over the season. He's available at 7.4 million, so not bad for David Silva. But how many games will he play? Obviously, this is his last season. He's going to be in and out of the team. His legs aren't as young as they once were. So is there value in that? Possibly. Will he be saved for Champions League games? Maybe. So something for you to consider there. And then we've got Nathan Redmond at Southampton. He had a great week. He returned 10 points and he's available at the moment for 6.4 million. And then we've got Mark Noble at West Ham. He had a fantastic week, returned 9 points, which are his only points of the season so far. And then as we scroll down, we've got Mount at Chelsea, returned 8 points. We've got Raheem Sterling. He returned 8 points as well, and he's 34 points. Like I say, he's actually got more than Mo Salah this season, so he's on 34 points overall. So he's had a fantastic start to the season. Either him or Salah are pretty much a must for all fantasy teams, especially if you're serious about being at the top of the table. I think the leaders at the top of this year's fantasy league are all going to contain either Sterling or Salah. Obviously they could get an injury, something like that could happen, but if they don't, then they will be the consistent performers. I'm pretty sure of it. And then we've got Schlupp at Crystal Palace, another player there who terrorised Old Trafford, terrorised the fans there, ran rings around some of the United players in that game. He returned 7 points. We've got Cantwell at Norwich. I believe Cantwell was on the score sheet as well, so good week for him. And then we've got Torreira at Arsenal. Obviously Torreira scored at Anfield, so well done to him for getting that goal. I mean, he's a good little player. He's a bit of a terrier type in the midfield, so for him to pop up and score a goal was a bonus. So if you had him in your team, well done. And then this is a man that I was considering signing early on in the season. It's El Ghazi, and some of you may follow my FIFA series that I do on the channel, and El Ghazi is somebody that I usually pick for my career mode. So I've always sort of rated him. I think he played for Ajax at one time, and obviously now he's with Aston Villa. So yeah, definitely somebody I rate, and he had a cracking game for Aston Villa, and he returned 6 points this week. And then we've got McGinn. Again, he's a Villa player. He's started the season really well. He's returned 15 points in total, 6 points this week. Jota, and that's not the Wolves Jota, this is the Aston Villa Jota. He returned 6 points. And then we've got the man who scored against City, Harry Wilson. Cracking free kick against City. All credit. It was a bit of a soft free kick. Laporte was a little bit reckless, diving in at the back. Gave the foul away, and Harry Wilson obviously popped the free kick in as well. So as we scroll down, some of the more familiar names, you've got Fabinho in there, you've got James, obviously the new Messi at United, Daniel James is there. He's on 13 points for the season, and he returned 6 this week. But to be fair to James, he scored a fantastic goal against Crystal Palace there. It wasn't enough obviously to save them, but it was a good goal, so fair play to the kid for scoring that. And then as you move down, you've got the likes of De Bruyne in there. De Bruyne was a little bit quiet at Bournemouth, but he was still involved, returned 5 points. And then Martial's in my team. He returned 5 points this week. He's returned 19 over the season so far, so not that bad a return, not the best, but not too bad. But obviously now this little icon's appeared, this little yellow icon here, because Martial picked up an injury in the game against Crystal Palace. So if you've got Martial in your team, you might want to keep an eye on the injury status, the injury reports coming out of the media, to make sure he's still available for the next game, or if he's not, then make your changes. So This week then, it's all about these three guys at the top here. Mo Salah, David Silva's had a fantastic week, and then Nathan Redmond as well at Southampton. So if you had any of those guys, well done on your midfielders. Let's go ahead and look at the defenders. So top of the pops for the defenders is Patrick Van Aanholt at Crystal Palace, and we know why he's top of the table this week for the defenders, because he popped in a goal at Old Trafford to win the game. So he returned 10 points in total, 18 over the season, and he's available for 5.5 million. So straight away, this guy stands out to me. It's a good price, 5.5 million. He's quite a consistent performer, and in all honesty, I think Van Aanholt is probably better than Crystal Palace. I reckon he could play for one of the top 6, top 8 teams and be quite comfortable in there. He might not be a starter. I mean, I don't know if he'd start for the likes of City, for example, but he is a fantastic player and definitely good value if you want to get him in your fantasy football team. And then we've got Engels at Aston Villa. Solid performance. He returned a 9, and to be fair to Aston Villa, it was a cracking win against Everton, 2-0. And when you look at it, you know, El Ghazi was on the score sheet, and they had Wesley on the score sheet as well. But Engel, clean sheet, fantastic contribution to the team, and Villa are, you know, off and running in the Premier League. And then we've got Matip at Liverpool. So Joel Matip is obviously Van Dijk's right-hand man. So solid performance from him against Arsenal, and obviously a goal. He popped in a header off, I think it was a header off a corner against Arsenal. I think it was the first goal of the match, if I'm not mistaken. So he returns 9 points, and then over the season he's got 11. So not an amazing start to the season, but he's available at 5.4 million. The only thing with Matip is his injury. His injury consistency isn't great. He's always injured. He's always in and out of the squad. So it might be somebody you want to take a risk on, maybe not. And then we've got Vestergaard at Southampton. He returned 9 points. Shah with a great return there at Newcastle, 8 points. Obviously kept a clean sheet at Spurs, which is a fantastic result for Newcastle at the weekend. We've got Tyrone Mings. He returned 7 points, and I must admit, Tyrone Mings is a great defender. I really like the guy. He's a big lad. He's physical, strong, and he's a centre half as well. So he's always in the correct position. He always seems to be there blocking the shots. He's got a big frame, and he's definitely good value at 4.5 million. If you want to take a risk on an Aston Villa player, will Aston Villa be on the end of some heavy defeats against the bigger teams? Possibly. I mean, late on against Tottenham, they did capitulate a little bit, and they lost the game 3-1 after being 1-0 up. So maybe a risk, but I do like Tyrone Mings. And then we've got Dummett at Newcastle. He returned 7 points. We've got Baldock, Sheffield United. Bednarek, again, he's at Southampton, returned 7 points. Taylor at Villa. Lascelles. So there's some value here. You'll notice a lot of the defenders I'm mentioning are at the sort of lower clubs, if you like, in the Premier League. These are not big names that I'm reeling off. These are, the likes of Dummett at Newcastle, Baldock, Bednarek at Southampton. So there's some value out there. These guys are available for about 4.5 million. So do have a look. If you're thinking about changing your defence around to accommodate maybe a more expensive striker, then have a look at some of these players, because they are great value as well. And then obviously we've got the likes here of Bowley at Wolves. He's a consistent performer. He's returned 15 points already, and he returned 4 this week. Wasn't his greatest week this week, but he is there or thereabouts most of the time. So if you've got any of these three defenders, Van Aanholt, Engels, Joel Matip in your team, or Vestergaard there at Southampton, well done. You've had a fantastic week defensively. Great selection, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the goalkeepers. So the best goalkeeper of the week was Gunn at Southampton, and he returned 7 points. and 10 over the season. So he's available at 4.5 mil. But again, a bit of a risk. Southampton, they are going to probably take some heavy defeats. Heaton at Aston Villa. Great week for him, 6 points, 4.5 mil. Dubravka, Newcastle. Available at 5 million, returns 6 points. So these guys, the top three there, had great weeks, but they are at, lower clubs or clubs that are probably going to be in the relegation battle, so you might not want them between the sticks for your team. But then if we move down, this man here, you probably will want between your sticks. It's Ederson, obviously the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. I'm not hearing anything different from anybody. And he returned only 3 points this week. But in that game, he was absolutely fantastic against Bournemouth. The number of one-on-ones he managed to stop. His movement, his agility on the line there was just fantastic. And he's returned 11 points so far this season. So he's not had the greatest start to the season. But obviously over the full 38 games, you probably want to look at somebody like Ederson to be between the sticks. And then we've got your Foster there at Watford. He returned 3 points. Patricio at Wolves. And you see, they're all quite low scores for the goalkeepers this week. There wasn't that many clean sheets. There were a couple of clean sheets about, but not many. I mean, the Brighton goalkeeper had a clean sheet. You got like the likes of the Villa goalkeeper. So, a couple of clean sheets. And it wasn't the Brighton, it was the Southampton goalkeeper, who had the clean sheet, which of course was Gunn. And then if we scroll down here, you can see Kepa's in the list. So Kepa's value as well. You've got Leno at Arsenal. So these are goalkeepers that will keep more clean sheets than not. So do look out for them. They are available at a reasonable price. If you did have Gunn, Heaton, Dubravka in your team, or even Ederson, as many of you Blues will, congratulations, you had a great week there with your defenders. So let's move on to the actual league then, because everybody's interested in the league. What are the current standings in this year's Man City Fan TV Fantasy Football League? And you can see we have a bit of a pattern developing here, because Chris Stomsey is in front and he's pretty clear there. He's on 232 points and he's had a fantastic week. Crispin Mama is the name there on that, but he's had a fantastic week. I've noticed he's been there or thereabouts each week now, so he's starting to take a little bit of a commanding lead at the top of the fantasy table. He's being chased here by Centurions FC on 214 points. We've got Two Girls, One Schluck, 208 points. That's Aaron Lee. We've got Guardiola's Guba on 206 points. We've got Bald Frauds, 93.20. That's Shravan Kumar on 203 points. We've got Gilfy Pleasures on 203 points. I like that name. And we've got Not Got a Scooby Again, which, to be honest, I should have called my team that, because I haven't got a Scooby when it comes to the fantasy picking the team. I can review the fantasy football, but picking my own team, doesn't always work. And then we've got Sterling Silver on 200. We've got Blue Moon Rising, so Abby MCFC, she's doing well there on 199 points. She's in 9th position, tied with Scotty's Ballers, 199 points as well. We've got Random second there, down to 11th. We've got the Citizens, Andrew Shref on 197. We've got Equilin Mangala, Kamal Dwyer. So Kamal's a regular on Man City Fan TV's on 196 points there. And then we've got City of Guardiola. Let's just pick out a few that stand out to us. We've got Mathers FC there on 194. Blue Moon FC on 193. We've got the Snowman FC, 191 points. And as we move down the list, we've got the Formidables FC on 186 points. Champ on 184. We've got Good Kev Man City on 183. We've got Rodri Trotter on 182 points in position 33. Gorse Hill All Stars, they're on 181 points in position 35. And let's just scroll down the list. We're going to take a look. You can see here Kiam's wife. So my dear wife there on 174 points. She's in 43rd position. But obviously I'm getting laughed at in my house because I am losing the battle. And hopefully I can turn that around by making a few changes to my team for the next round of fixtures. And then we've got Salt and Pepe FC, position 47 there, 170 points. As we scroll down, you can see Kiam, I'm just about hanging on there, 69th position, 158 points. And let's just go back up. So 69th. And then as we scroll down, you've got the likes of Winning Now FC. We've got Game of Stones. I love that name, Game of Stones, 160 points on 65th. We just looked at Kiam there. I'm in 69th position. We've got Blue Moon Rising in 71st position. We've got the Virginia Blues in 76th position on 152 points. Tonka FC in 78th position, 151. London Park FC. We've got Adzi FC. We've got Iona Beats in 95th position, so Iona's Barmy Army, 142 points. So a bit of work to do there for Iona. Section 20, Manchester FC, 98th position, 140 points. So he's got a bit of work to do. Charles Deneen in 100th position. So Deneen Dynamos, you've got a little bit of work to do there. Yeah, got to make some tweaks, some changes to the team. 134 points. And we're just going to go to the next page. And you can see from the 100th position, we've got Dream Team. We've got 103rd position, Pardo's Cousins. Bacon Sani in 104th with 129 points. And then as we scroll down, you've got Carol D, Triple Blue there in 107th position. And then the relegation fodder, sorry guys, but the relegation fodder, here it is. We're going to look at it. We've got Zach, Leave My Barcelona, which is, okay, that's an interesting name. I like that one. Viva City. We've got Big Haddy United, Football Crazy, Space Raider propping up the league. I'm sure some of these guys have just recently joined the league though, so it's understandable that they are not quite in the in the top half of the table, shall we say. And let's just find where Andy is, because I didn't see Andy. He didn't pop out to me, which is either something that I missed or it's because he's not doing very well. But I'm sure I've just missed him, because Andy's usually pretty strong in the fantasy league. There he is, Andy, Man City Fan TV, the main man, 26th position on 187 points. So he's in range. He's in range there. He can work his way up the league. And I know Andy's a bit of a tactician when it comes to the fantasy football, so I might have to start getting some tips on which players to pick myself from Andy, because he seems to know it very well. So there we go, guys. That is week 3 on this fantasy football league here on Man City Fan TV. We'll be getting a review like this every week on Man City Fan TV. So do hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification. And if you haven't yet joined the league, here's how to do it. Go to fantasy.premierleague.com, and once you've logged in and created a profile, all you have to do is go to the Leagues tab at the top, click on Create and Join New Leagues, click on Join a League, join a private league, and then you just have to enter this code XLVA6E. Once you enter that code, hit Join League, and then you're in. Thanks for watching, guys, and good luck with the rest of the Fantasy League season. Take care.